Alright, number 1 asks us to combine like terms. So we have 6x minus 5 on the left, 7 plus 2x on the right. Now we need to get x by itself. So subtract 2x on both sides plus 5 on both sides. X equals 3. We have the answer D. Looking at number 2, which of the following equations correctly relates D and M? And looking at the answer choices, they want us to find slope. Now, we can see that we have a y-intercept at 0. That means C and D are incorrect since they have y-intercept at 2. So now all we have to do is find the correct slope. Our slope formula would be rise over run. Rise would be 2, run would be 1. So rise over 1 gives us answer choice A, the slope of 2. Looking at number 3, when they ask us to isolate one variable, all you have to do is rearrange the equation and don't waste your time reading the big chunk of words. So we have to multiply 6 on both sides, so the 6 cancels out. Get rid of the denominator, and we are left with this. Now we have to isolate p. That means we have to minus o minus m on both sides, which leaves us with p. And our answer choice would be A. Okay, number 5. The width of a rectangular length 4 is W, and the length is 6 feet longer than the width. So let's draw a rectangle so we don't confuse ourselves. And we're supposed to find the perimeter. So the perimeter is this thing right here. That means we need one more W and one more W plus 6. 2W and 2W plus 6. Distribute everything. We are left with 4W plus 12, which is answer choice B. Let's look at number 4. It's a bit more challenging, but we can do this. We have RT equals TU. That means we have an isosceles triangle right here, which indicates that these two angles are the same. So how do you solve for these two angles? Well, we know that the sum of the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees, right? We already have a 114 degrees. All we have to do is add the two angles, which we can represent by 2x. So 2x, what would that equal to? So 2x equals 66, so x equals 33. That means that they both equal 33. Alright, now what do we find? Where do we go from here? We know that we're solving for x. So we already have 33 degrees. All we have to find is this one right here. How do we find that one? Well, by finding the angle measure of that. Alright. We find that by using the ulterior angle, 114. So basically, the two angles that are not adjacent to the ulterior angle, which is these two, when they add up, they would equal 114. So we already have 114, and we know that's 31. So minus 31, 3, 8. We know that's 83. If that's 83, we know that's 83 as well. And since we know the sum of the triangle, interior angle of the triangles are, it equals to 180. So 83 plus 33. And we subtract. We get 64 degrees as x. Okay, number 6. We could tell that 2x is what they have in common, right? So let's isolate 2x in the first equation. We would do that by adding 1 on both sides. And then we would copy this one directly here, right? Now because they have in common, they have this in common, we could sort of just not look at it for now. Okay, now we're left with y plus 1. And let's get these two on the same side. That's minus 1. And we have y is bigger than 4, which is b. Number 7. We want to get everything on the same side, right? We want to solve for x. So let's get 4 on the other side. That'd be negative 1. And then, since we don't like square roots, we are going to square both sides. And be careful, we're not distributing the power here, we are expanding, which equals this. Right? Because we're solving for a solution set, we have to set the answer or the equation to 0. That means we have this. And we factor. I should equal that. How do we check? We check by multiplying 1 and negative 5. Does that give me negative 5? Yes. Okay, what about 1 plus negative 5? Does that give me negative 4? Yes. That's how we check. This one is always multiplying. This one right here is almost multiplying these two numbers. This one, the middle term, is always adding these two. Alright, so now we see that x equals negative 1, x equals 5. But be careful, we have to plug it back in and check our solution. Let's plug in the first one. When we plug that in, we get this right here, right? So that would be 4 plus 4, 2 plus 4. Does that equal 2 right here? 2 plus 4, does that equal 2? No. So x is not a solution, which leaves us with 5 as our solution. Okay, number 8. F of x divided by g of x. Basically, we divide them. Alright. We could tell that you could factor out an x here, right? So we would be left with x squared minus 9. And then we would factor g of x, which would be, let's see. Now let's check. Let's get this term. We would multiply these two. Does 1 multiplied by negative 3 equals negative 3? Yes. What about 1 plus negative 3 equals negative 2? Yes. So we have that correct. However, we could factor out the f of x one more time to this. And then let's rewrite g of x on the bottom. You see these repeat, so we cross them out. And what do we get? We get choice D. Number 9. When we see this equation right here, we know it's going to be a circle. And what that means is the center of the circle would be at 6 and negative 5. And we square root that, gives us the radius of 4. So they're trying to find the coordinates of point Q. And they're saying that the line of PQ is the diameter. And where is P? P is at 10, negative 5. So if this is at this is at 6, then, 10 has to be here, negative 5, which is P. And Q has to be right here. What do we notice about these two coordinates? We notice that negative 5, or the y value, doesn't change. So we would eliminate B and D as our answer choices. And let's look at which x coordinate Q would have. We know that the center of the circle is at 6, negative 5. And we know that the radius is 4. So 6 minus 4 equals 2. the point of Q would be at 2, -5. That would give us A. Okay, number 10. A group of 202 people went on an overnight camping trip, right? 60 tents, some tents hold 2 people, some 4. All right, we're solving for how many tents were 2% tents. We need to set up a system of equation. X plus y equals 60, that gives us the number of tents. And this one gives us how many people. So what are we solving for here? We're solving for how many of the tents were 2% tents. Basically, we're solving for x. That means we need to rearrange the variable so we get x. We get x on everything. Distribute. -2x, and then we would subtract basically. So -38 divided by 2 on both sides, which equals what? 19. So we know our answer would be 19 2% tents. Okay, number 11. So looking at the answer choices, we could see that it's either 1x or x squared. And let's see which one that would be. So we're looking at the zeros of this function right here, right? This part, it bounces off the x-axis. That means it's even. It has an even power. So we would eliminate A and C, because x squared would be even. So now let's see which one these are. So we know that right here x equals 2 and right here x equals -3. And when they're in the equation form, they're always the opposite. So it'd be like this. Which one would that be? That'd be choice B. Very good. Number 12. We have this ratio right here, and we're trying to find B over A. So we could flip that, which we got B over 2A equals 2. Because we want to find B over A, we want to get rid of this 2. So we can multiply 2. That way it cancels out. If we multiply on this side, we have to multiply on this side. So B over A equals 4. Number 13. 4 million in 2000, 1.9 million in 2013. So assuming that oil and gas production decreased at a constant rate, that means we can eliminate A and B because they have a positive slope, but we're looking at decreasing, it has to be negative. Okay, since we know that they have 4x or x-intercept, right, that means, y-intercept, sorry. So 4 has to be here. And the associated year would be 2000. So we can say it's 0 because we're starting to look at numbers in 2000. So let's assume it's 0. In 2013, it'd be 13. And we have 1.9. So now this comes to be basically a slope problem. Is that equal? And that equals. And we multiply 10 on top and bottom, which leaves us with choice C. Number 14 asks us how many solutions. Now we can see that we have a y in common. So we can rearrange the equation to be y equals 5x minus 8. And we plug this whole equation into this y right here. So 5x minus 8 equals x squared plus 3x minus 7. And because we're solving for solutions, we have to set it to 0. So minus 5 plus 8. What does that give us? Basically simplifies to this right here. That means we have exactly one solution. Even though it's 2 right here, they're the same, so it'd be 1. Let's look at number 15. We're solving for the value of h of 0. So when we plug in 0 here, we notice that we have g of x to solve for first. So we plug in 0 for g of x, which 2 times 0 is just 0. That means g of x equals negative 1. So 1 minus negative 1 equals h of 0. What does that mean? It's 1 plus 1 equals 2. So we get D. Now it's the free response section. Right here we're solving for the zeros of x, or the solution. That factors out to be 3 and 4. Because we want a negative 12, one of these has to be negative. But we want the middle term when they add together to be a positive. So it would be a negative 3 and a 4. And we know that a has to be larger than 0. So we will not have that. The answer would be x equals 3. Number 17, the sum of this and this. Okay, what is the value of a plus b plus c? All we have to do is add like terms, combine like terms. That x squared plus 8 and plus that 23. Okay, so a plus b plus c, a plus b plus c. Number 18. We could immediately cancel these two x's and we're left with 4y and 6. So divide 4 on both sides and reduce. We get 3 over 2 as our answer. Number 19. Always read the question first because it can really eliminate a lot of reading to do. The question says, what is the value of b? What is b? B is a y-intercept. B is what they start with. And look, a startup company opened with 8 employees, so the answer would be 8. Last question. In the circle above, point A is the center. Arc BC is 2/5 of the circumference of the circle. What they're referring to is right here, this part right here. 2/5. It might seem like we need the circumference formula, but we don't. Because what we're solving for is the value of x. That means we just want to know what is the angle measure of x. So we know that this is already a ratio, basically, 2/5. A circumference is essentially 360 degrees over what? Over x. And now multiply 360 x x would be 144. Yep, that's it for the no calculator section.